Shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. This is brother Yah with the servants back at again with another video through the Spirit. All praise to the Most High. Another truth revealing Tuesday. Another truth revealing Tuesday. So today, man, on this truth revealing Tuesday, we are going into current events, prophecy, and the negative effects of desegregation. Desegregation. Okay, so that's what we're gonna get into today through the Spirit, Lord willing. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off with some scriptures. All praise the Most High. Let's start off with this. Scroll down, go to my... It's all Luke chapter 21 and verse 36. Hold on, let me make sure my screen sharing. All right. So we're gonna get into some things, man. You know, there's a lot going on. You know, you got all hell breaking loose in Mexico. You got all hell breaking loose in Mexico. You got the United States, they just deployed about 100-some planes or so over in Iran. So we're gonna talk about a couple of those things through the Spirit, Lord willing. So let's start out with this first. And it reads, this says, watch ye therefore and pray always. So in these times, man, we gotta be watching. We gotta be watching the things that's going on in the world. You know, we gotta be watching also not just the things that's going on in the world, but we gotta be watching our spirit as well. But you don't want to be ignorant of the things that's going on around you. You don't want to be ignorant that we live in last days. You don't want to be ignorant of all the things that's going on in the world. It said, be not ignorant of any matter. Small, roughly paraphrasing. But in these times, again, we got to watch. And I'm going to get another precept. But I'm going to come back to this one, though. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. I mean, not Ecclesiastes, but 2nd Esdras 9:1. 2nd Esdras chapter 9 and verse 1. Let's get that through the Spirit. All right, and it reads this. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, meaning observe the time carefully. Observe the time that you're living in. Because when you look at the scriptures and things of that nature, the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai warned us of the things to come in the last days. And now more and more, day after day, these things are being revealed to us and shown to us in front of our eyes. So it says, when thou seest part of the signs past. And you know, when you go to the book of Matthew chapter 24, you got Mark chapter 13, and you got Luke chapter 21, and various other scriptures, things presented in the Old Testament, things presented in the Apocrypha, of many signs that will come in the end times. And we're seeing these signs, which I have told thee before. Then shalt thou understand that is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So we have to understand, as we see more and more things pop off through the Spirit, we got to understand that we're living in the last days. And again, that also is a warning to you that very soon the Lord will be coming. And of course, things might slow down, but still understand this. You know, we live in the last days, and you never know when you're going to have your last breath. So with that being said, you got to always be watching the things that's going on in the world, and watching for things internally, what's going on within yourself, within your mind, within your spirit, within your household. You know, we got to be watching these times. So let's go back to Luke. Again, it says this, watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass. And Yahweh Shai, so you had the disciples, they inquired to the Lord, who the world ignorant calls Jesus Christ. They inquired him of the end times and the things that will be going on according to his coming, or associated with his coming back, his return. And when you go into the different things that's going to be going on, you got pestilence going to be going on. You have all out war going to be going on, famines, all these things, betrayal, iniquity abounding. You're going to have a lot going on. Persecution of the saints, Jacob's troubles, right? It's going to be a lot going on. So it says, pray always that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. But how does one be able to escape these things? How can you escape the said perils, the famine, the destruction? How could one escape such things? Let's go to this other precept. Go back to second Esdras, matter of fact. Second Esdras 9, and we're going to go to verse number 7. It says, and every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed. So that's how you are able to escape the said perils. It's by your works and your faith whereby you have believed, whereby you believe. So it's going to be taking some work and some faith. And that's why I said watch and pray. You watching your spirit, man. You watching things that's going on. You watching for your household, praying, beseeching the Lord. Okay. So, I just want to kick it off with that through the spirit. So now let's go into the things that's been going on. So, if you have been watching, this thing been going down, and it's been going down in Mexico. After they unalive this major cartel, El Muncho or something like that, El Mencho. After his unaliving, things start kicking off. All hell breaking loose up in there right now. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. So let's go into it. It says, powerful cartel unleashes wave of violence across Mexico after its leader unalive. So it says Sunday's unaliving of Nemesio Ruben El Mencho. Y'all see the name El Mencho. Triggered roadblocks and unrest across Western Mexico. So by them taking this man down, it caused unrest. Roadblocks. You see this car in flames. It was a lot going on out there. And what's so crazy, you had Americans touring. They out there tourists out there having a time. They was getting threatened. So let's go to this video. Lord willing, you be able to hear it. I hope you better hear it. But
this morning, widespread violence at a major tourist destination, leaving chaos at
hotels.
It
said a major tourist destination. Let me see something real fast. Okay. Let me go back to it. So here we go.
And some Americans
y'all can hear this though.
Puerto Vallarta, one of the country's most popular resort cities, cartel members burning down buildings and setting cars on fire.
See that?
The unrest unfolding after
burning down buildings, setting cars on fire. It's chaos. Chaos. Like it says, tourists stranded in Mexico amid cartel chaos.
After the Mexican government said it killed the leader of one of the most powerful drug cartels in the country during a military operation. Mexican authorities say Nemesio Ruben Osuguera Cervantes, nicknamed El Mencho, was the kingpin of the violent Jalisco New Generation cartel. The U.S. State Department previously offering $15 million for his capture.
They had $15 million on this man's head. That's insane.
In a statement
the U.S.
to
put
NBC
that out.
News, the White House confirming the United States provided intelligence support to the Mexican government in order to assist the operation that killed El Mencho. Across nearly a dozen Mexican states, plumes of black smoke could be seen for miles.
All hell breaking loose out
buses set on fire. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico urging U.S. citizens to shelter in place amid ongoing security operations that include flights to the region being canceled. With sirens blaring at Guadalajara International Airport, some panicked travelers trying to hide while others fled on foot.
We saw the taxi cabs all blown up and blocking the streets and people running down them towards us.
American Jim Beck is sheltering in place at his hotel in Puerto Vallarta, which he's visited for many years.
See that? It's going down over there right now. And to say this video, this footage is all fair use. All fair use. I meant to say that. This video is all fair use. Educational purposes. Fair use.
A few days before you're scheduled to depart, is there a concern that may not happen?
we're a little bit scared because that's 2 days away that we're supposed to be flying out in the morning, and I just don't know if they're going to have everything opened by then.
So boom. That's why I just kind of want to show that video through the spirit. Hold on, I could have did that from the get go, but it's all good. So I want to kind of read a little bit on this article, just a little bit. But before I read this article, I want to get this precept, and we're gonna go back to 2nd Esdras, chapter 9, really fast. We're gonna go to verse 3. It says this, and this it says this. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. So now keep in mind this. Not too long ago, you had uproars going on in Iran. Thousands of them people got unalived over there, and they riots, and thousands was unalived. Now you got all hell breaking loose in Mexico. This is a world thing. You got things going. You got uproars over here. You got uproars over there. You got uproars going on all over. These are the things that you're gonna see in the last days. And of course, we can't forget about the earthquakes. But yes, we know that there's been earthquakes in diverse places all over the world. But now you have uproars of the people all over the world, not just in one place. That's the point. It's not just in one place. Hell, it's been uproars going on in Europe. So it's been uproars all over. Hell, it's been uproars in the United States. I mean, on these the ice ages situations. So you got uproars going on in the United States, dang, Iran, Mexico, is all over. These are signs, indications that what? We are living in the last days. When you're seeing things of this nature, and they're going to continue happening, they're going to become more and more frequent. That's what's going to happen. They're going to come more and more frequent. But again, just to add again, we're seeing things. These are another sign that, hey, we're living last days. So let me just go back and read on this article. Where's my page at? No, not that. Right here. Okay. So it says this: Mexico City. The Jalisco New Generation cartel unleashed a wave of violence across Mexico, setting vehicles ablaze, blocking roads, and turning a state capital into a ghost town after the army unalived its powerful leader known as El Mencho. El Mencho was the Mexican government's biggest prize, yet to show the Trump administration in its efforts to crack down on the cartels, his unaliving was met with a forceful reaction by his Jalisco New Generation cartel, known by its Spanish initials, CJNG. It says cars set on fire by cartel members. And understand this. This gang or this cartel group is large. Think about what I said. And this is why I say this is why it's going to show you how large this thing is, because you have to have a lot of manpower to complete all this. But it says in nearly a dozen Mexican states. So they are it says a nearly dozen of Mexican states. So you gotta be huge to be state to state. So this is a big cartel group. Large. One of the largest. He was a big man, he was a well-known man. So it says this: Mexican states and left smoke billowing into the air. Jalisco's capital, Guadalajara, was turned into a ghost town Sunday night as civilians hunkered down. Later, authorities announced they had cleared most of the more than 250 cartel roadblocks across 20 states. And they weren't playing around. But this is the things you're going to see. Chaos, anarchy. This is just a sample of things that's going to be going on in the last days. Several Mexican states canceled school Monday, and local and foreign governments warned citizens to stay inside as violence erupted. And we know we have some brothers and sisters that are of Mexican descent. Now we're not talking about the Spaniards, of course, or people that come from the Spaniard descent, but the one that come Afro descent. You know, I do want to put that out that we do have brothers and sisters in Mexico. Again, not the ones that come from the Spaniards, but the other ones. So it says Oseguero Cervantes, 59, was wounded in an operation to capture him Sunday in Tapalapa, Jalisco, about a 2-hour drive southwest of Guadalajara, and he left this place while he was being flown to Mexico City. The Defense Department said in a statement, the state is the base of the cartel known for trafficking huge quantities of fentanyl and other things to the United States. So you kind of see this cars on fire. It's the whole visual. People sitting there looking. It's crazy. Hey, they weren't playing around. All right, so we're not really gonna go in too deep on the article, but I just kind of want to show y'all that. And I got 2 videos just concerning this matter, because you did have some U.S. citizens. You had some U.S. citizens that was put in harm's way. So let's go to this. You did have some U.S. citizens. So this is another one that's fair use. Fair use. Again, we're just doing some current events, get handle of prophecy, and then again we're gonna get into the negative effects of desegregation. But let's continue rolling. So let me make sure share my screen. And matter of fact, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And I'm gonna come back up here. Do it like this. Present screen. Yes, sir. There we go. Get it like that. All right. So this is fair use. Let me get to this. Fair use, guys.
In place in Mexico, as we're hearing the cartels are now targeting them amid all the violence after we saw that cartel leader El Mencho was killed. Take a look at the latest headlines with me. Deadly violence in Mexico spreads after cartel bosses killed as Americans are warned to shelter in place. After the U.S. assisted in killing a drug cartel leader, the cartel now is targeting American tourists in retaliation. Mexico violence sees dozens of military criminals dead after cartel leader El Mencho is killed. And Mexico killed El Mencho. Here's how and what we know about the U.S.'s role and El Mencho killing countries near Mexico with U.S. travel advisories. We're hearing that right now. They are saying that American citizens in Mexico need to shelter in place because right now the cartels are targeting them as well as a result of the U.S.'s hand in assisting in the killing of El Mencho. So there has been a lot going on. I've got a lot of video footage and articles to share with you to get you caught up on the latest so you know exactly what is going on right now with the chaos that is spreading throughout Mexico. So I'm going to go ahead.
So now we ain't gonna get all the videos, but I just want to kind of show y'all so y'all can see, you know what I'm saying, that it's a lot going on over there. Again, it's chaotic over there. You got US tourists being targeted. A lot is going on. So I do have an article, but I'm not gonna go too deep onto it. But United States, they did play a part in this guy's unaliving, So we are gonna get a little bit of this article, but we're not really gonna get into it like that. We're just gonna kind of, share this tab. So it says this. It says U.S. tells Americans to shelter in place as Mexican army unalives cartel leader. So it says key takeaways. These are the key takeaways to this article. Okay. Shelter in place, Americans in Jalisco, Tamaulipas, Michoacan, Guerrero, and Nuevo Leon are advised to stay indoors due to ongoing military operations and criminal activity. El Mencho unalive. the Mexican army successfully unalived Nemesio Ruben Oseguero Cervantes, leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, which we went and we talked about them previously. After spotting burning vehicles used to block operations, local impact video shows smoke over Puerto Vallarta, highlighting the intensity of the military actions and road blockages affecting multiple cities. Okay, so that's a key takeaways from this article right here. And again, we not really finna get into this thing like that. We just gonna read a couple things so you can see the U.S.'s involvement in this thing. So it says the U.S. State Department has issued a warning for Americans in Mexico to shelter in place until further notice after the Mexican army successfully unalived the leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. The Associated Press confirmed the unaliving of Nemesio Ruben Oseguero Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, on Sunday, citing a federal official who requested anonymity. Newsweek reached out to the White House by email on Sunday afternoon for comment. Why it matters, President Donald Trump earlier this month said he plans to launch very hard land strikes in Latin America as his administration expands its efforts to combat drug trafficking. The administration has carried out strikes against vessels in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific Ocean that officials have said are traffickers. He specifically mentioned going after Mexican cartels, which he said are running Mexico, and unaliving 200 to 50,000 to 300,000 people in the U.S. every year. Wow, that's insane. He previously signed a directive ordering the U.S. military to target cartels and other groups designated as foreign terrorist organizations, a move that raised concerns about diplomacy and presidential overreach. So you got some people, they feel like, oh, he's they have concerns. They don't feel like it's the right thing to do. So everybody is not on one accord in this thing. Everything, everybody ain't on one accord with this. And that makes me think about this precept. Let's see, let me get this real precept. Because you gotta see, Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling. We see it in the actions. You see they not on one accord with these politicians, these men in these cities, these renowned men, the rulers of this place. One person believe this thing, somebody believe this thing. One person disagree with this, somebody disagree with that, and they all over the place. But it reminds me of this precept right here in Matthew 12 and Matthew 12 and 26, and it says, "And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand?" And we got to understand this. It says Satan is divided against himself, and we're seeing these devils, they divide against themselves. They're divided against themselves. So we know that this kingdom does not have a very long time. We don't know when, but we know soon that this kingdom is going to fall. Believe it or not, I think it's going into year 250. When you Google it, it says most kingdoms last about 250 years. And this is about to be year 250 this year, I think. So it's a lot going on. And at this very same time, America is not as strong as it used to be. It's being torn apart by politics, greed, wickedness. So the Lord is slowly but surely tearing this place apart. Okay, so let's go back to some other things. Because we got some other stuff that we got to cover. So we talked about that. Now we're finna talk about something else. Because again, we talking about watching, observing the times that we're living in. So I'm gonna go to this scripture right quick. I'm gonna go to Matthew chapter 24. Get the classic, classic precept. I'm gonna read verse 3 in the NLT. It says this: Later, Yahweh sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return in the end of the world?" So they was asking him, what is going to signal, what sign is going to signal that his return to the world? So he's going to give them not just a sign, but signs, multiple signs of the things that's going to be going on. So it says this, let's go to verse 6. It says, "And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation and kingdom against kingdom." So it lets you know that nations will go to war. You're going to hear, so it's going to basically saying that you're going to see of threats. You're going to hear of threats, but that ain't it. There's going to come a time where they're actually going to go all out to war. They will go to war. So let's go deal with, because we're going to cover some threats. We're going to cover some threats of war. So let's go to this article right here. Check this out. Now this right here, it says this. It says Moscow warns of direct conflict between nuclear powers. The alleged plans by France and the UK to supply Kyiv with nuclear with nuclear weapons bear catastrophic risk, the Russian foreign minister has said. So let's jump down. Let's kind of get into this article. It says any attempt to provide Ukraine with nuclear capabilities would be met with a resolute response. So France and these different people are looking, in NATO, they're looking to give Ukraine nuclear weapons. Russia's like, man, if y'all do this, it's going to be off the rip. It says from Russia and risk a direct military conflict between nuclear powers. Straight like that. So it's going to go from, hey, as again, we talk about, it's going to come a time where we're living the time of the threats, but there is going to be a time where they will actually go out to war. And if France follow through with this decision to do so, and Russia said it's going to be a response. Things going to get cracking. Hey, some bombs going to get dropped. That's what they're saying. Foreign Minister spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has said. Zakharova made the remarks on Tuesday commenting on claims made by Russia Foreign Intelligence Service. Earlier in the day, it alleged that London and Paris have been considering ways to equip Ukraine with nuclear capabilities, either by providing it with components to build dirty bombs or supplying it with warheads from their own stocks. So they got things kind of, again, things could slow down, but you got things heating up. They putting fuel on the fire right now. Hey, this move could kick off some war. This move could kick off that portion of nation against nation. And it will happen, for sure. It says the potential covert transfer of relevant European-made components, equipment, and technology to Ukraine comes along with preparations for an information campaign to portray the nuclear device as domestically developed in Ukraine. The alleged intentions of Paris and London bear grave risk for global security. Why does it say global security? Because if things pop off there, this is going to affect the whole world. That's where you have your World War III. That's where you have these nations, because you got to think about it. France, they have allies of NATO. Russia, they have their own allies. China, Iran, and whoever else joins Russia. I want to say North Korea. So they got their different allies. So if this thing kicks off, it's gonna be a global conflict, and would inevitably be met with the resolute response from Russia, Zakharov said in statement. And I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna get up off this article. We have repeatedly stated that any attempts to revisit Ukraine's non-nuclear status, let alone to enable the deeply anti-Russian Kyiv regime to obtain nuclear weapons, are categorically unacceptable, she said. We once again warn of the risk of direct military conflict between nuclear powers and consequently of its potential catastrophic consequences. So they said this thing could be catastrophic. Global security. There's a lot going on. But again, that plays a pinnacle and very important part of prophecy. It plays a part of prophecy because it's threats. Then it plays a part of prophecy because if they actually initiate war, then you got nation against nation. And you got that part of prophecy that you could do that. You got to think about all these different things that Yahweh Shah says is going to happen. It's like a checklist. Okay, boom, that happened. Okay, boom, this happened. Okay, boom, that's happening. And you just start checking things off your list. Hey, very soon, hey, you're going to check off, hey, nation against nation. Nation going to war against nation. Hey, that's coming soon. And it's the inevitable. It's nothing man can do about it. You know, whether they like it or not. They might disagree with it. They might say, well, hey, you know, I don't think that's good. You know, I don't want that to happen. Well, it ain't up to you. It's all of the Most High. So we're gonna read this right here. This is just to show that, you know, it's all of the Lord's doing. And if the Lord says it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen no matter how you feel about it. You know, and that's why when you go back to Luke 21, where it says watch and pray, and again, you know, things could slow down, but regardless of things slow down or not, you should be in the spirit of getting yourself together, of doing better, trying to increase, trying to be diligent, try to be sincere, try to move with integrity, try to be on fire in these days. But it's Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So the time that we're speaking about is for an appointed time. It's going to happen. Though it tarry, hey, wait for it. It's going to happen. Believe you me, it's going to happen. You know? So let's go to I got another video. I got another video. We're gonna get into this. So let me share this real quick. It's another video I got. So let me start sharing my screen. Let me present this right quick. I got another video. And this going again to we were talking about, you know, different things, you know, war threats and things of that nature. So now we're finna cover another thing, another video or article that's you know, alluding to the same thing. And with that being said, you know, this video is for fair use, fair use, fair use. Okay, so let's go ahead and crack this thing open. Let's go.
150 U.S. aircrafts have been deployed to Europe in preparation for an attack on Iran, according to the latest information coming out. Let's take a look at the headlines so you can see it for yourself. U.S. deploys 150 aircraft near Iran after the Geneva talks. We're hearing the talks are still taking place, but it is not looking good. We're hearing that the United States is positioning for an attack. Now, this also coming out today. Take a look at this. Iran vows to do whatever.
Real quick, I gotta get this precept. I gotta get this precept. Cause this it just made me think about it. Cause it says Again, they're discussing peace. They're trying to have these peace talks and things of that nature. And every time I hear about that, it just make me think about this precept. Let me see. We'll see what it look like in NLT real fast. But it's First Thessalonians 5:3. Let me see what it let me see what it say. It says this: when people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pains begin, and there will be no escape. So they talking these peace talks. Let's try to have peace. And they say, and you hear what it says? It says it's not looking good. It's not looking good. But then you're gonna have a time, where everybody like, everything's okay. You're secure. It's gonna be all right. It says, then the disaster will fall on them suddenly as a pregnant woman labor pains begin. And y'all know, you know how it is when a woman when she in labor. She could be chilling, probably eating her food, eat some chicken, hamburger, whatever, watching TV, whatever. And then boom, that pain comes. Hey, that's how it's gonna be. And people just gonna get caught off guard. But that goes back into, again, what we start off with in Luke chapter 21, when it says watch and pray. Because see, you watching and praying and hoping and having faith. Hey, Lord willing, you're able to escape. Hey, Lord willing, you be able to, be preserved during that time. And if you have to be a martyr in this thing, to go out for the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and you know what that is, and that's a straight up crown of life. But understand this: when they think it's gonna be peaceful, when they think everything is gonna be secure, and they said sudden destruction gonna come, so you can't get comfortable. That's the thing. You can't get comfortable. It's not a time to relax. Even when you think it's a time to relax, don't be relaxed. I ain't saying to go crazy, bug yourself out. I ain't saying that. I'm saying don't be content with where you are in the spirit. Try to always try to elevate, do better. That's what I mean when I say don't be relaxed. Meaning, don't be content where you are in the spirit. Don't be content with what you're doing right now. Let's say you out there, you going to camp, you doing works. Don't just be content with that. It's probably more you can do. You probably can give some alms or, it's something that you always can do. When it comes to the ministry and doing things for Yahweh Shem Yahushua, it's always something we can do as men. Because, in the precept in Psalms, rough paraphrasing, it says, man on his best day is all but vanity. So we always got something we can work on, get better at, But again, it's going to be some people that's going to get caught off guard, and they ain't going to be able to escape the things that's going to come. They just going to get caught out there. They going to get caught slipping, and like on Boys in the Hood, that Ricky scene. Hey, Ricky was, he doing his little scratch off things. Hey, then boom, they came out of nowhere. And that's gonna be a lot of people gonna get Ricky'd out there. Seriously though, they gonna get Ricky. Because they playing around, they not watching, they not being sincere, they not being diligent, and they don't get caught off guard. Hey, Lord willing, I don't get caught off guard, but that's why we gotta pray. Pray, but let's go back to this video, man. Let's get this video. We're gonna run it through this time. So let me go back to this. Stop sharing. Let me go to this. All right. Let's go to this right quick, y'all. We're gonna run this through, okay? So let's do it.
It takes to make a nuclear deal happen, according to reports. Iran insists.
Fair use. This video is fair use.
The upcoming talks in Geneva will happen with complete honesty and good faith. Let me know if you trust Iran's word. But take a look at this coming out as well. Now, not just the nukes. Iran is producing ballistic missiles with chemical and biological warheads. Israel's defense establishment is providing targets and discussing the different capabilities that need to be dealt with in a potential strike. Israeli military advisors Amir Aviv has said, as we're hearing, that not just nuclear warheads, but they're concerned about them still striking with chemical and biological attacks. Now, Trump's plan for strikes on Iran carries major risk. And the U.S. military knows it, as we've heard that there could be retaliations on U.S. military bases in the region, on Israel. And we've also heard the concerns from the Pentagon directly, just in the past couple of weeks, about attacks on U.S. soil here in North America. And Trump mulls a narrow Iran strike as the deal remains uncertain. Sources tell the Post. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know your thoughts. A lot of people saying we do not deploy 1/3 of the U.S. naval assets to the Middle East just for a show of force. They're saying that this is a buildup that is spelling that there is going to be an attack. Now, we're going to see. I'll be sure to let you know. I'm going to keep you up to speed every step of the way, but let's take a look at the latest headlines and video footage coming out today, February 24th, 2020.
Okay, so boom. And then this came out today. But as you see, though, they said, and I ain't said, they said, they said, the United States just don't shoot out 1/3 of their military for no reason. So they think, hey, this is gonna be an all-out attack. But we don't know. We just gotta see. But again, this goes back to what what Yahweh Shah was telling the disciples about the different things that's gonna be going on in the last days. And we're seeing that. We're literally seeing that before our eyes. So, we just got to keep watching. And don't, and I say this, don't be this type of guy. Because again, like I was just talking earlier and I was saying, when you think about these things, you don't want to be that person, because things can slow down. We all know that. Things can slow down. Then they kick back up again. But don't be that person that think the Lord delaying his coming. I'm gonna get this precept right quick, because we definitely gotta understand that. Because you're gonna see some things. You're gonna see some things. You're gonna be thinking like, man, dang, this is it, and it might just slow down. But don't lose faith. Don't go back into the world. Don't go back into sin of wickedness. Don't do that. Just understand it just ain't the appointed time at the very moment. But do know that it's coming. Not when you want to, but when the Lord says it's gonna happen. We can't expect the world to end because we want it to end. Because it even tells you in Amos, woe to you that desire the day of the Lord. We just gotta be patient. And yes, I know it's a lot of things that's going on in this captivity. It's Babylon is wicked. There's a lot of wickedness going on. It's a lot. Oppression. Oppression. You got people dealing with mental things, depression. A lot's going on. But we just gotta be patient, long suffering this thing, and keep pushing and enduring. Endurance is the key. And why I tell us, hey, endurance to the end. Endure, yeah, it's because it's crazy out here. And we know too, that's why times got to be shortened. Because all these things going on, because of the wickedness, all the diabolical, sinful things that's going on in this world. And we see that now. The Lord is showing up the time. When you look at it, brother, you like, dang it. Matter of fact, it's February already. Almost the end of February. Hell was just, January 1st, not too long ago. So we see that. But let's go to Matthew chapter 24. And let's get 20. Let's get this. First, I'm gonna get 20. I'm gonna get verse 44, and then we're gonna go to we're gonna jump down. But I'm gonna check this out in the NLT first. I just want to see what say the NLT. See what it say. So I like this. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 44 in the NLT. You also must be ready all the time, And we got to be ready all the time. And granted, of course, sometimes you may slip up. Sometimes you fall off the wagon. But we got to, it's like a, it's kind of like a cat, or something like that. You got to have that reaction. So when you fall, you get right back up. You immediately back up, because sometimes it happens, you fall. We in this flesh. But it's about getting back up too. So again, we got to be always ready, or praying or hoping, but you don't want to be the person that's unsober in the spirit. And you're drunk too, but you want to be soberly spiritually. Having your mind right spiritually as well as the physical, but you want to have your mind right spiritually. For the Son of Man will come when least expected. We don't know when he gonna come. That's why I say sometimes, you're gonna see things might slow down. You might be anticipating, that things about to be over with. That's gonna be your last time working or whatever, paying some bills. But slow it down. When it comes, it comes. Because again, things can slow down. Just be ready. That's our MO. We just got to be ready. And that goes with us constantly killing that old man, constantly repenting, constantly reading and meditating on the scriptures. That's how you get yourself ready. Because it's a spiritual thing. You can't get ready. It's not a physical thing. Yes, there is physical things you can do for sure. You taking care of your body, and you might have a little these things and that things, but the real battle is gonna be here in your mind, in the spirit. That's what you gotta have ready. Because you can have everything ready in the physical, but if it's not ready in the spirit, you ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna endure. Because that spirit is what's gonna push you to the last step of the way. And you gotta have that right. You gotta have that ready. But let's jump down to this. It says this. I'm gonna jump down to verse 47. I tell you the truth, the master will put that servant in charge of all his own. But what if the servant is evil and thinks, my master won't be back for a while? You cannot be this person. Because you might see things slow down. You might not hear about no more war talk. You might not hear about no more rumors of war. It could happen. You might not hear about no family, nothing going on. Don't be that evil servant that's thinking, oh, my master ain't gonna come back for a while. And what happens then when you think like that? Oh, I got time. I can do this. I can, be a dang nigga. Basically, freaking off. Now I got time. I can freak off a little bit because he ain't gonna be back for a time. So I can freak off a little bit and then I get back right. No, you don't want to play those type of games like that. Hell, that's off. It's evil thinking. But you gotta be like, man, the Lord can come at any moment. And even then, you never know when you have your last. I like to always say, you never know when you're gonna take your last breath. You just don't know. It's people that be getting up out of here. So you never know. And he begins beating the other servants, partying and getting drunk. Just going back into the world. You going back hanging with Lil Pookie. You going back hanging with Keisha. Keisha, she said, I don't need a man. Now you start, you once was this, this delicate woman, being submissive to your husband, but you thinking the Lord, the lady's coming. So you going back to hang with Keisha. Now you start having that spirit of I don't need a man. Then, all hell start breaking within your home. You and your husband, y'all disagreeing and all things is going on. Or you go back hanging with little Ray and Pookie. Pookie, he just been waiting for you to come back. And you think the Lord, the lady's coming. So now, you and little Pookie, y'all in the car together. Then he asks you, hey man, you want to hit this? And he like, yeah, I might well. The Lord ain't gonna be here for a little minute. And then what? You start going back into the world. Go back into wickedness. being an evil and wicked diabolical man or woman. It says the master will return unannounced and unexpected. The Lord ain't gonna give you. He gonna come unannounced, unexpected. But at least he give us signs. But even then, he still gonna come unannounced, unexpected. Because when you think he gonna come, he just might not come. In the moment you least expect it, boom, that's when he comes. So unannounced, unexpected. And he will cut the servant to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites. And you're gonna get cut down. If you don't be sincere, you don't be diligent, and you get that mindset because you see things slow down, you get impatient, you like, dang man, why is going back to the normal? Or why ain't all hell breaking loose right now? And you go back, the Lord said you're gonna get cut down, gonna get cut into pieces, and given a place with the hypocrites. And in that place, there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And you're gonna be tormented. You're gonna be straight up tormented. Because you thought foolishly. Oh, I thought I was sharing my screen, man. It's a lot, y'all, about that. I thought I was sharing my screen. That's why I had that going on. But yeah, I'm gonna read that last one again. I thought it was lucky. I thought I was sharing my screen. But let me go back to that. It says, I'm reading it again. It says, but it's Matthew 24:48 in NLT. It says, but what if the servant is evil and thinks my master won't be back for a while, and he begins beating the other servants, partying and getting drunk? The master will return unannounced and unexpected, and he will cut the servant to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites. In that place, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All right, so you don't want to get up, you don't want to get in that predicament. So let's go to the other topic. Let's go to the other topic that we discussed. So now, mind you, last week we had me and Judge Eli, we was going into this topic, and I had some videos for that too, but I ain't got the same videos, so we just gonna go with the articles that I had, or the research that I had that I acquired. So this is what I acquired. I'm just doing my research. So it says key negative effects of desegregation. So we're gonna see this. It says this: desegregation, while crucial for racial equality, has significant negative effects, including the mass termination of tens of thousands of experienced Black educators and administrators. It caused and was exacerbated by white flight to suburbs, creating resegregated neighborhoods and schools, while placing immense psychological stress on Black students, often in hostile environments. And when you think about this too, we went from trying to go to their schools. We went from having our own schools. We go to school regularly. We go mind our business, whoop the whoop. Then you have what's that? I think it's this case right here with the this little girl. I forgot her name, but we read about her in Black history, so-called Black history. The little girl. What's her name right here? It says this. Hold on, let's go, because it was in the Brown versus Board case. What was her name? Hang on, I can't think of her name right now. But anyways, and we had to watch this movie when I was in school. We had to watch this movie on it. So, the little girl, I don't know why I can't think of her name right now. But anyways, the little girl, she was going to this all-white school. She was like the first African-American, so-called African-American, to go to this school. And you had all these white kids, their parents, all them was out there. You know what I'm saying? They was cussing. They was going crazy. They was going crazy because they didn't want a so-called black girl going to the school with a white child. You know, and you had to imagine what this had to be for this little girl to have to go to school every single day, seeing all this going on. And you know, our people, they so ignorant. They look at it like, oh yeah, look, yeah, we going to school with them. Hey, these kids was bullied, talked about, all kind of things going on with them. It wasn't all that serious. Well, they could have been at a place where they was with their fellow brothers and sisters. They same people that look like them. You can imagine how they was being treated by the teachers. It's crazy. But, you know, again, it caused mental stress. It says this: the fight for racial equality has been deeply intertwined with the demand for equal education opportunities. Judicial victories such as Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, were intended to halt us racial segregation and reform educational system. Civil rights activists hailed these laws as monumental victories for the black community. And this was so crazy. They felt like, and this how you know how simple-minded our people was. They thought that it was monumental just because we was in the same school as a white person. When the whole time we had doctors prior to that. Before this situation, we had doctors, we had lawyers. Hell, we had our own cities where we had all that. Teachers, all that. We had the same thing they had. But what our people want to do? They want to be intertwined with the enemy. They lost their D mind. And even Martin Luther King, he said, I led my people to a burning house. It says, yet decades later, disparities in academic performance, social integration, and psychological well-being continue to plague black students. So they thought this was monumental, but now you got this social integration, you got psychological problems that's plaguing the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Because we thought it was so imperative, important to be with them, and it's been causing our children problems. It says the legal precedent of Brown and versus Board of Education lacking safeguard to ensure equality in educational opportunity and accessibility has negatively shaped black students psychologically, states in many ways. They don't see that. They thought it was the best thing popping to be in their schools, but they didn't see the hurt down the line. They didn't see the negative effects down the line. So now we seeing it. But I want to get this precept, you know, real. I'm gonna keep reading. Then I'm gonna get some precepts in. It says these shortcomings of the judiciary foster subtle yet enduring societal basis that continue affecting black students today. It's still affecting them to this day. Before landmark civil rights laws, black students faced blatant educational inequities. Racial segregation was upheld by the infamous separate but equal doctrine established in Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896. It perpetuated an educational system designed to maintain racial hierarchies. So now he's trying to go into that, but they talking about the non-importance because they want to say, oh yeah, black schools were underfunded, but yet we always been underfunded. Hell, we always been getting the less, especially in this society under the thumb of the so-called white man. The same thing is going on at this very moment, to this day. What has changed? That was all for naught. Till this day, you go to the black hoods, the black communities, they still underfunded. They still undersourced. There's still so-called black students and children that go without having books. I remember sometimes everybody didn't get a book. And the books that we did have, sometimes it was raggedy, tore up. What has changed? Yeah, so we see him in our schools now. We can say hi to him. What has really changed though? You know, you gotta really think about that. So let's go back to where we was at. And I want to get this precept, but before I get it, we want to continue on because there's a lot of stuff I gotta go over. But it says loss of black educators. So these are we going to these key points. It says thousands of black teachers and principals were fired, demoted, and forced to resign, severing the connection between black communities and school leadership. And you know what this mindset puts you in? This mindset, these Negroes. Let me see. Let me go to this. This is what I think about right here. This Lamentations 4:17. As for us, our eyes has yet failed us for our vain hope. Instead of us hoping in our vain help, but instead of us looking to the Lord, looking to Yahweh Shem Yahushua says, in our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. We looked for a people that could not save us. Look to be associated with the so-called white man. Look to go to his establishment, drink out his same water fountain, be in his same neighborhood, so forth and so forth. But this nation can't save us. You thought going to them, being a part of them was gonna make things better for you in this captivity? Was gonna make life better for you? But we still struggling. Hell, now we even worse off than what we was. Before, you had families that stayed together. We had our own little communities where we looked out and took care of each other. Hell, now we can't even. We barely can damn walking on the same street together now. You got gang violence between so-called black men and so-called black men, so-called Mexican men and so-called Mexican men, so-called Latin men and so-called Latin men. We look what's going on now. We worse off than what we was. You know, you got some brothers they hating on the other brother because it's just a lot. It's just a lot. You know, now you got our women. They looking down on so-called black man, and now they saying, well, hey, you know, I want me what they call them, a vanilla. You know, they want them a vanilla ice. Now they want the vanilla ice. Now they want to be like Rebecca. You know, it's crazy. It's like our people, they lost their mind. Trying to be like, look for a nation to be like them, to get saved from them, to get redeemed by them. These people don't care about you. Now they might go under different names now. They might kind of, hide it a little bit, you know, put a little, polish it up a little bit, but it's the same thing. In your eyes, you still a Negro. And I mean, in their eyes, you still a Negro. It says this: they hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. You know, now at first we had our own little communities, but now, you know, segregation, we gotta be together. Hell, they on our blocks, hunting us down like deer. It says our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. It says our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains. And look at this though. You know, look how they pursue the so-called black man these days. And these days, you know, you try to take off running, they might pew you. You know, but you gotta see the effects and how it has changed us. You got you know, now with this, you know, you got some children, you know, they grow up you got some young black girls. They grow up thinking that, you know, because they skin color, that they less than, because they don't look like Molly, you know, or their hair. You know, even sometimes we certain schools, they want our children to change their hair because it's not fitting, or it's not I forgot what that word is. I forgot what words they use or how they dress it up, you know. But again, as we read in that article, but it still affects us to this day. So let's go back to what was to these different points, you know. So let's go back. It said this. Let's get this point. It says the movement of white families to the suburbs, aided by discriminatory FHA loans, resulted in a sharp decrease in white enrollment in city districts, sometimes by 12% or more, often leaving schools undersourced. And you got to see the play. They moved to the suburbs and they left the cities, right? So now who was occupying the city the most? Who, when they build up these projects or these ghettos? And then you got to think about this. When you had this happening, you had, hold on, let's keep reading. It says this: psychological and emotional toll on students. It says Black students often face racism, isolation, and lower expectations in predominantly white schools, which cause psychological and at times social distress. So because of this, now they got to deal with. And guess what? This psychological thing, now this messing them up for life. You got some people that deal with psychological problems their whole life. They never get over that depression. They never get over that anxiety. And guess what? It end up being a thing that's been passed on to their kids. But these are the negative effects of desegregation. Let's keep going. Weakening of community institutions. The closing of neighborhood schools, which were centers of community, culture, and pride for Black students, severed the often nurturing link between schools and community. And not only that, you got to think about this. Think about the business aspect. You had so-called Black people saying, well, hey, you know what? We want to start spending our money in the white stores, in the white businesses. But look what they have done to us. You spend all your money with them. Now you guess what? They forced all our people that was doing business. Now they forced them out of business. The jobs that we did have, they forced us out of that. The business that we did have, now they forced out because they put all their money into those other communities. But when it comes down to our community, we funding their communities. We putting money in their pocket. We building them up, buying their stuff. But does it come back on the residual end back to us? No. Because our community is still the same. Our hood is still the same. The ghetto is still the same. The schools in the hood, they still the same. You don't see them pouring money into our schools. You don't see them pouring money into the hood. Oh, we see a lot going on in the hood. Let's try to change it. You know, we see y'all have y'all put a lot of money into our businesses, into our our products and things of that nature. So we're gonna take this money that y'all have helped us get, and we're gonna put that back into our communities. That's not happening. And you gotta be real with yourself. It's just not happening. It's reality. But anyways, like it said, it severed the link between the schools and the community. And all these things, again, we're seeing the negative effects, and we're seeing, look at our children now. Dang, every time you look up, it's another young Black man got killed, so-called Black man. They got killed by another so-called Black man. It's happening often. What they say, what them they call them YNs now. We went from, these leaders we had, we talk about them all the time on Black history. Hell, further than that. Biblical times. We had David. We had Solomon. We had Ezekiel. We had Yahushua. We had Matthew, John. All these mighty men, we came from that. So we got YNs now. But it's all a result because we broke the commandments of God, though. You know, that's really what it boils down to and come back to, though. But let's keep reading. It says increased conflict and inequity, rapid desegregation without proper support led to increased racial tension and, in some cases, violence in schools. So you got racial tension now, and then now you got a little aspect of you got well, you got black against black now. Cause now you got some people that feel like, oh, you know, they think they better than us because they stayed in this place. They think they better than us because they stay in that place. You know, it's even we integrated into these other communities, other races, and it separated us. It separated us even the more. Integration caused us to separate. At one time we was together. We was had each other back, so we started relying on them, pushing it with them, kicking it with them. So now we even more separate. Now if a brother got some money, now it's a problem. You know, it's just it's crazy. But there's scriptures for that. We also know that's a part of curses as well, because of our disobedience and not following laws of God. You know, it comes back to that too as well. We got to remember that as well. It says ineffective policies. In some instances, busing failed to achieve lasting integration. Instead of leading to forced busing that increased racial tension without necessarily offering equal educational opportunities according to national affairs. So it affected us in a very negative manner, you know. Like I said, we even more separate now than we have ever been. Our women, the women from the women and the man. Our women, they talk down on the black man. The black man talk down on so-called black women. It's self-hatred. It's self-hatred even more. We start being around people that hate us, and we start hating each other. That's literally what happened. We start kicking it with people that hated us, and now we start hating each other. The hate that the so-called blacks and Hispanics, Native American have for each other now is at an all-time high. It's just diabolical and wicked. Even though it goes to that curse, Deuteronomy 28 verse 54. Let me get that real fast though. And then I'm gonna get this other precept. Get this precept. 28 and 54. So this is the curse that I was, and it can relate to I'm gonna touch on a couple ones. How we when we think about us being being in the places that's undersourced, underfunded, and things of that nature. Now, of course, you might have some black brothers and sisters that they might live well off. They might don't have to see any poverty. They might don't see any violence. But it's a lot of us that struggle. A lot of us that's catching hell. A lot of our people out there are poor, sleeping on the concrete, tent city. Yeah, you go to Atlanta, you know what tent city is. And a lot of that is our people. But it's Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. For those that might not have heard this before, read this before, come across this information before, I'm gonna read this so y'all can see where I get this from, or how I say that this is a curse that come from us breaking the laws of God. But it says this: but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So the Lord say, if the Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, if they did not listen or hearken to him and do what he said do, that they was going to be cursed. So we see it says, cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. And we see that, you know, we that's being the poorest in society, picking cotton, you know, living in the hood, the ghetto. And again, you know, there are some that are well off, but there are more that's impoverished. We lead in poverty. It's a statistic that the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American, they lead in poverty. That's a fact. Now you might be well off, but a lot of our people are struggling. This Deuteronomy 28 verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother. The YNs, the Crips, the Bloods, GDs, evil eye towards their brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. All these so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American children that grow up without a father in the home. That's biblical. All of it is biblical. You know, we getting on desegregation, but it's all biblical. It all comes back to the Bible at the end of the day. But this was the problem from the get-go. You know what I mean? Our brothers and sisters, they was looking to Egypt. They was, and this is spiritual Egypt. You know, just like how our forefathers looking to Egypt before, when we was taken ramsacked by the Babylonians. You know, same spirit now. There's nothing new under the sun. Now our people, they're looking to Egypt for help. So let's go to this. And I'm gonna read this in the NLT. This Isaiah 31:1. It says, "What sorrow awaits those who look to Egypt for help, trusting their horses, chariots, and charioteers, and depending on the strength of human armies instead of looking to the Lord." Hey, this is what our people did. And they was trusting in their politicians, trusting in their governors, trusting in whatever. Instead of trusting into the Most High, we might be in this predicament where we was underfunded, we didn't have the best schools and all these things, but we supposed to trust in the Most High. We can't go to these people and thinking these people got our best interests at hand. Think they really give a dang about you. These are the same people that didn't want you to be with them. You look at them saying, "We want to be with you. I know y'all don't want to be around us, but please let us be with y'all. Please let us be in the same restaurant with y'all." It's crazy. Same people that was lynching you. Same people that burnt those little girls in Selma, Alabama in that church. Bombed that church in Selma, Alabama. Yeah. Same people. But this is what he was looking to be amongst, to sit next to on the bus. Ooh, I can't wait to sit next to me, a white man. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know, but our people are doing it. It says, "In his wisdom, the Lord will send great disaster. He will not change his mind. He will rise against the wicked and against their helpers." And the Lord sent the disaster. And one of the disasters that he sent, think about it. You know, everything is of the Lord. But he had these people as a tool. And what did these people do? What did these devils do? And these devils brought the crack to our communities. And it straight up decimated and destroyed us. They brought the government assistance, where they offered the black woman to say, "Hey, you know what? I give you some money, but you got to get that man up out the house." And now you got children growing up without a father in the home. Now you got the woman saying, "Well, I don't need that man no more." Now, mind you, they got fathers in their home. They got dads in their home. Is it all of them? No. Yeah, you got some white kid that might grow up without a father home. But it's greater and more at a larger scale when it comes to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's a fact. You can look it up. Google it. You know? But the problem with our people, we look to all these people in different nations for help instead of looking to the Most High. That's our problem. That's our issue. When the whole time we should have been worried about returning back to our heritage, coming back to the Most High God, repenting. You know? But I'm read this precept right here. This is gonna be my last few precepts. But it says this: never trust thine enemy. It's Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So now, we go to his hospitals. Did you know that the hospital is one of the most dangerous places for a so-called black woman? Giving birth is in the hospital for a so-called black woman is crazy. A lot of them sometimes they get unalive. Sometimes their babies don't make it. Some women, they end up getting their organs taken. It happens. There was a time where you had a whole bunch of disappearances of, or what they were doing a whole bunch of hysterectomies on the and if you don't know what a hysterectomy is, that's when they they remove the sexual organs of a woman, but they was doing it at a rapid rate in to so-called black women. And what it was doing, they was giving those parts to other people. Crazy work. Man, it is so much other things, but though he humbled himself and go crouching, and you have some of them, they might talk, a little nice. Your Bidens, I'm for the black people. Though he humbled himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. But you gotta take good heed. You gotta use wisdom. Don't get fooled. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Don't just think because now you're in their schools, now that you're in their jobs and all this stuff, that they really care about you. Yeah, some of them they nice, some of them be nice though. But ultimately, when you go back, when you go home, they go home, you're still an N word, at the end of the day. When it's all said and done, when all hell break loose, don't think they're gonna be like, oh yeah, bro. No. And think about this. If they really cared about you, where your reparations at? Yeah, you got equality. Where your reparations at? How come they still benefit off of the slavery? It's a such thing as white privilege. It's just crazy. But that's all I got for today. Not to beat a dead horse, man. Somebody said want my best conspiracy. But that's all I have for today though. Want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Our dear brothers and sisters, mighty, mighty, mighty shalom.